Good evening, folks. We are off to a flyer. 11 people currently watching live this week's edition of Grumpy Old Spurs. Thanks for tuning in. Dave, how are you feeling? Buzzing? 11 people watching?
The first words I say, watch that 11 go down to 10 or 9. Watch it. I am feeling very well. Lovely to be back on Grumpy Old Spurs again. I will bring you a sunrise during this show. I can't wait to get into it. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, Gibbo. We've got a lot to talk about.
Well, you've just gone up by 2, Dave, so you must be gaining viewers. Must be. Can we just do the really boring bit of saying, please follow us on Twitter, please like, please subscribe. We are desperate to hit the numbers of like 800, aren't we, Dave?
Thousands.
That's our target.
800,000.
No, cheers. Thanks, everyone. Kerry's in the chat. Obviously, she's got nothing better to do tonight, so she's watching us live. So Dave, what have you been up to?
I'll tell you something, Gibbo. The last 24 hours in the Spurs YouTube podcast world, I've listened to the Spurs show, View from the Lane, Holly's Hot Spurs last night. We had Johnny on, the big heavyweight of the YouTube world. We had Jim from Oso Spurs, we had Billy from Change to Tottenham. They're talking about the big issues, the big topics, and we are not afraid to also hit them tonight. I am, of course, talking about Dog of the Week.
Yes.
So this week's Dog of the Week for AZ, it was Sabi. It's a 4-year-old cockapoo. I didn't know there was such a thing as a cockapoo. It's from Hertfordshire. I was educated in Hertfordshire. Loves sunbathing. I didn't know a dog could sunbathe. Shopping trips to Battersea. That's a bit of a slap from Hertfordshire. And cheering on Spurs alongside his family. Is this an example of cruelty to animals, putting your dog in a Tottenham dog outfit? What do they call that, Gibbo? You're a dog owner.
I actually own a cockapoo, Dave.
Did you? Are you a cockapoo owner as well?
Yeah, Ralph the cockapoo.
Ralph. Who is Ralph named after?
Ralph is named after Ralph Coates, my favourite player when I was a lad.
Really? I thought you were too young to like Ralph Coates.
No.
Is it Ralph Macchio from the Karate Kid?
You got it. And we've got Ted the Pug as well. But Ted is actually named after Teddy Sheringham. Not Ted and Ralph from the Fast Show.
If I had a Labrador, I'd call it Archie after Steve Archibald. And Gibbo, one final thing before we get into it. Do you have like I notice a lot of my friends and family that when they talk to a dog, they talk to it like it's a baby. Do you do that as well, Gibbo?
No, I don't.
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. All right, Gibbo. So look, before we get into it, it's very important that we do the traditional thing in this show. We'll get it out early. Have you read that Spurs 90s book, Gibbo?
Not yet, Dave. I've been busy. I've got it on my side next to my bed.
I can't tell you the amount of fan mail that we get at Grumpy Old Spurs Towers asking me to ask you, have you actually read the book? And you still haven't read it.
No, I think I'm just about to get into 91, 92. So, but like I said, I've been reading
got a long way to
which
go,
I find a lot more interesting.
Well, here we go. And just before we move in, Kerry's got a lovely peekaboo, and he had a Spurs jumper on at Christmas.
Oh, lovely.
That's nice. That is nice. And welcome, Phil. He was our number one fan the other week. He's got nothing else better to do. That's the spirit, Phil. That's what
he listens to all these other podcasts, watches all these other YouTube channels, and he thinks, God, I can't stand this positivity. People trying to find ways to find green shoots.
Mark Neighbours
cannot wait for Tuesday night, 7:00, to be really brought back down to earth.
That's what we're here for. Lovely to see you, Mark. We are the only show in town, literally. And so let's in tonight's show. Obviously, we're going to have a quick chat about our AZ AstraZeneca. We are going to be looking at the big showbiz off this weekend. McIntyre versus Hugh Grant down at the Cottage. It was big. It was large. Then we're going to. We're contractually obliged to. We'll have a look at the league table. We do have something to play for in the league. We'll cover that off later, ladies and gentlemen. We're now up to 15. And then we will obviously descend into the usual. We might be joined by your fellow and Undertaker Leon a bit later on in the show.
Yes.
We'll talk about the declining career of Ange at this club. So let's have a quick recap. Hang on, I've got the wrong slide.
Come on, Dave.
Hang on, sorry about that.
Do we need slides for the AZ? Oh, here we go.
This is cheerful happiness. Well, not on the two on the left. Look at this.
Well, Dave, I mean, it's a real mixed bag, isn't it? Yeah, Odebear bagging a couple of goals. I mean, we'll come on to the Fulham game and talk about that in a minute. But it was nice to win, wasn't it? But obviously on last week's show, I thought we'd win.
You did.
I put in our a WhatsApp group, I think we win 3-1. I said, I think we'll go 2-0 up. They'll score, and then we'll score towards the end.
Yes.
And I also said AZ were pretty shit. And I think I was right on all accounts, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were indeed right on all accounts. AZ were pretty shit. But can I just say that our third goal was Ange's ball at its finest? Come on.
Yeah, it was an excellent goal, mate. Odebear doing Brennan Johnson things, tapping one in from 6 yards. But yeah, it was a lovely goal. It was befitting of winning a last 16 round of the Europa League, wasn't it?
I sense a slight sarcasm in you saying that, Gibbo. I can't pull it out. Look, AZ in the Dutch Cup final. Okay. Yeah. I think they're 5th or 6th in the Eredivisie.
Yeah.
Okay. They're 6th in the Eredivisie. They're featuring an ex-luminary of Troy Parrott. I think they used to have Vincent Janssen on their books as well in his post-Tottenham career.
Is that where we got him from?
I thought, did we get him from there or do we sell him there? One or the other.
No, I think we bought him from there.
Okay. Anyway, so at the end of the day, we are now through. We've got Frankfurt. We've got Frankfurt, and we'll obviously get into that later on. And it's a good evening to Richo, our favourite Everton fan, who likes to talk, likes to have a look in at what we're doing. But
make himself feel better.
We will do a big tactical preview of Frankfurt in a few weeks' time. We'll look at XG. Yes. We will look at their position in the Bundesliga. We will look at who will be playing and things like that. A deep dive into them. Yeah. I'll do a scouting mission.
Formations.
Yes.
We're going to do some graphs.
We're going to do some graphs.
They press on the pitch. What type of blocks they do.
We'll do all that. Have you been to Frankfurt, Gibbo?
No.
I've been stranded in Frankfurt for 3 days because I was trying to get from Hong Kong to London as a big snow damp. And we ended up in Willy Brandt Square. Lovely. Very nice.
Okay.
Lovely. But there you go. That's my Frankfurt's anecdote. We'll move on.
What was your take on the game against AZ then, Dave? Did you think, what you thinking, good performance, or it was just literally all about the win? Just needed the win, didn't we?
It's a cup, mate. It's a cup competition. It's all about the win. You've got to grind them out. The fact remains is that first away leg we were shocking, absolutely shocking. And we will be bringing out the Ange Undertakers later on, but it felt a little bit to me like the Conte Sheffield United Cup game, to be honest with you, a little bit end of days. And I thought we were shocking in that game. Son in particular was awful. I was quite encouraged by Odegaard, albeit, encouraged against weaker opposition than in the Premier League, to be frank. Mickey van der Ven literally wrapped up in cotton wool during that game. It was nice to see him back, but if we are really dependent on him next season and his hamstrings, then we're in a bad place.
I thought it was just nice to see Odegaard come on, and I know we'll probably come on to it in the Fulham game. It had the reverse effect, but it was nice to actually see him, he try and take people on. Not just try and take them on. He actually managed to take people on. And and also getting the same positions that Johnson did and put the ball in the back of the net, which sort of proves a little bit that it's not really that difficult to have someone else in that position to help the team more, is it?
You mean someone playing in an attacking flank position who takes a man on and beats them and puts a cross in?
Yeah.
You're so old school, Gibbo. What's the matter with you?
I am a dinosaur, but I just...
The game's changed, Gibbo. You've got to move on. Seriously, all right?
But through to the next round, job done. That's exactly how I felt about the game.
And that's what the season's all about now. And never mind the league. It's all about the Europa Champions League.
We're going to be. We'll get into that conversation.
We're doing a live show from Bilbao Town Hall. I've already rung up the mayor. We've got a live show in the porter cabin at the back of the car park for the day of the Europa Cup final. We got our brand and merch all ready to go.
Did Bilbao Working Men's Club fall through then, Dave?
Sadly, it did. The Bilbao British Legion Club didn't quite come off, I'm afraid. We couldn't book it. That had been booked up by Oso Spurs, so we can't get that. And Hotspur Hippie has got the town hall. I lied. So Hotspur Hippie's got the town hall. We've got the porter cabin in the car park at the back of the stadium.
So we'll be handing out free tickets for that at a later date, won't we, Dave?
Yeah, we will. We'll have exclusive details later on once we've got to the final of the Europa Cup. Okay, and I haven't signed any contracts yet. But is anything more to say about AZ AstraZeneca?
No, let's move on. I think we'll get more conversation, more discussion out of Fulham.
Okay, so we're now going to be moving. Have you been? So, first question for you, Gibber. Have you been to Fulham's ground?
No, I've never been. It's one I want to go to. But yeah, I've never been. Have you?
I have been.
Yeah.
I've been once. And here's a triv question for all of you and for you, Gibbo. I went to a Fulham game, and it was the Tottenham manager's last game in charge of Tottenham. Okay. Would you like a decade?
Give us a decade.
I'll give you the Noughties, Gibbo. I'll give you the Noughties. Anyone of the 16 people at home, it was a Tottenham manager. His last game was Fulham away.
Wasn't Santini, was it?
Well done, Gibbo. Well done, Gibbo. October 2004.
And Martin Yole took over the next game, which was Charlton, which I was at. I think we lost 3-2. We were 2-0 down at half.
That's right. Well done, Gibbo. Let's think about the Noughties, because that's where we are, thinking about where we are as a club at the moment, the Noughties. Everyone is going on about this is as bad as the 90s. And I'll say it again, we won 2 trophies in the 90s, and we had some really spectacular players playing for us, maybe slightly past their peak, but they gave us joy and excitement. Yes, we flirted with relegation.
This is like them. It does. Ozzy, remember going to Oldham and having to win to stay up? Only this time we've got better players.
Well, and this is, see, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that. Absolutely. But the good news was, Phil, that we sold Keane and Berbatov the following summer. Okay.
We don't want to go in. We say this every week that brought in Fraser Campbell.
I know. But you say this is as bad as the 90s. I'm saying this is as bad as the noughties. All right.
And the shittest part of those decades as well. Let's have it.
Obviously. Yeah. So look, let's move on. Let's move on to Craven Cottage. It is a lovely ground. I've been there. Genuinely lovely ground. Obviously, a lovely part of London. And it was a big showbiz clash
of the heavyweights.
We talked about McIntyre last weekend, larging it. Here he is. He's, there he is. He's the away end, above the away end on the left-hand side. He's larging it. He's doing a selfie. He's getting the crowd going. That
singing
man,
"We Want Levy Out," and
he was singing "Change for Tottenham." Because he's in the Tunnel Club. He's not happy. The Lobster Mornay ran out the other week, so he's not happy about that. And there is one of Fulham's most famous fans, Mr. Hugh Grant, looking as usual, curmudgeonly and grumpy. He'd be great on this show because he's a bit of a grump as well. So it was a Grant versus McIntyre conflict at the Cottage this weekend. And how did you see the game, Gibbo?
On my television.
Okay, good.
Well, we may as well start with the team news first, haven't we? I mean, I looked at the team and I thought there ain't a lot of creativity there. And I can't understand for the life of me why, when Odebear must be buzzing after that game, scoring 2 goals, playing really well, why, what you got to rest him for? Why have you got to rest the player? And we've got however long off now. Yeah, he's going to the France under 21s, but I thought somebody who came in and did really well to sort of would you say it'd be dropped or rested, or just not played? And a little bit the same with Maddison. It's like as if taking all creativity out of the team. What do we think was going to happen?
Well, I thought it was a good move by Ange to rest Maddison because he's got a 2-week holiday booked in Dubai and he didn't want to get injured for that, right? Because he might be staying in a hotel that slides that go all around the hotel. So it's important that Maddison's fit for the family holiday. Might sneak in a bit of darts as well, you know. I got to be honest with you. I didn't have high hopes going to Fulham. They're very good at home. He's got them playing very well, and we are awful, and I mean awful away, right? But that's no excuse for it, right? It's good that we got another 90 minutes. We got some minutes into Romero's legs. We need that for the Argentinian World Cup qualifying campaign, which is top of my mind, 24/7.
Yes, as always. I know it is. I know it's top of your mind.
It's top of my mind. Odegaard, I think, should have played. I would have loved to have seen when we did. I mean, I thought Tell did all right.
Yeah,
actually, I thought Tell was all right. He did okay. And I would have liked to have seen Tell, Odegaard, Solanke in the middle, because I think there'd been more chance of this concept of a winger beating a man, sticking across on Solanke's head, right? The midfield, we have got, I'm struggling to remember, when was the last time that we didn't change the midfield at half time? Was it the 1983 season?
Something like that. I think it was one of Birkinshaw's last games. But he's always making two substitutions at very often makes two substitutions at half time, which
tells the Aussie way, mate. It's the Aussie way.
Anybody would look at. I mean, you feel for talent, people like that, because we're sort of like pinned back a little bit, but there's no creativity in the middle of the park or like running. Anybody can run with the ball to get the ball higher and get the wingers up higher, so we can play it back. It was. I was watching it, Dave. I've got to be honest, and we never scored, so it don't matter. But at the moment, watching Spurs, I don't even sort of feel like there's no emotion. It's just watching it. It's just that is what you're doing. You're just watching it. That's how I feel, and that's how this game felt. It's just as if you're waiting to get beat.
You're like watching a coma, really, aren't you?
That game, I just felt like we were waiting to be beaten. I know the second half we started off a bit better, and we were probably the better team for the majority of it until the managers started making subs, and then it all went tits up. But but
you thought Romero had a great game, didn't you?
Well, I don't think I thought he had a good game. You know, Dave, I think Romero. I know everything you say. I agree with. Totally agree with about like his commitment to Spurs, and you know he's always ready for the Argentinian national team. But I think he did show that he is probably our best centre back when fit. You know, he was good. He does have like brain farts and stuff like that, but he is a good player, and he is, like I said, arguably our best centre half. He was winning headers, he was making interceptions. Then the minute he went off, it was sort of became. We were all over the place.
And what do you think of young Gray in the midfield this time?
Well, if he'd have maybe had a little bit more creativity around him or in front of him, would have helped him. But it was very meh, wasn't it? The first half was like that. And then we start to look a little bit better. But basically, the game comes to life with Spurs when chaos ensues, doesn't it? It's like Ange ball is chaos ball, really. Because that's what happened against Alkmaar as well. It just comes to a point where it's chaos. So I felt a bit for him, really. Was he horrendous in midfield? No.
I thought he did. I thought he did.
Was he spectacular? No, that's what I mean.
But I thought he was. I just thought I liked the way. Look, he wasn't great, but I liked the way that I liked his technique.
Yeah,
he did some neat touches on the ball, and it looked like he could play the traditional number 6. The thing is with him is that everyone goes on about he's got to play number 6, and I think he should have a go at that and be the understudy to the club captain bastard number 6 that we're going to sign for next season in our big summer. As you know, there's a big summer coming up, right?
Definitely this year, yes, it is.
But the majority of his career, he played right back, right? So he played right back, and you know, at the end of the day, I'd like to listen. The thing is about the league, and what I don't understand is, and we'll get onto it in a little bit of time, as in we've got nothing to play for, but we do. Play your kids, experiment, play Mikey Moore. I mean, when the City game, was Mikey Moore on the bench in the league game, and he brings on Werner instead of Moore? Was Moore out injured? I can't remember. Right?
No, I think he did.
I mean,
was he on the bench and he didn't even have Moore on the bench? I can't remember now.
I think Moore was on the bench, just gone. Right? He needs. You know how many players we got in that left side position? We could play there. Son, Tell, Odegaard. I mean, Manor Solom's on the book, he's on loan. Hill's on the book, he's on loan. And then you've got Mikey Moore and Werner. That's like 7, I think, right? So at the end of the day, these games, I think, are what you keep the momentum up of players who did well during the week. Madison should have played because he's got 3 weeks off.
Should have played.
Odegaard should have played. And, I mean, I don't know if you remember a children's cartoon called Willow the Wisp.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was playing right up top for us first half. Brendan Johnson.
Oh, but
what did he do?
Mate, but I've been saying it for ages, and I think the Brennan sort of like apologists have gone away a little bit now, because it is quite clear that, great, he scores those tap-ins and he gets you the goals, you've got to do that. But his all-round game, oh my word. He's scared. It's like, coward's a strong word to use, but he's just...
That's a strong word.
But his performances are just cowardly, aren't they? Passing it backwards or sideways, not brave at all, passing the buck to for other people to do it. And I hate that.
Do you think we've got a group of good players? I'm not so sure about that,
well,
to be honest with you.
I think I've seen lots of stuff on socials. They saying, where do you think Spurs would finish? Now, start the season, I thought we would be mid. We were aiming down the table more than we were from when we finished 5th. Now, I think fully fit that squad under Ange, playing his style of football, I think probably 7th or 8th best team in the league. I do, Dave. But I think the basis is there. I think there are some really good players supplemented with some very poor players or average players. I mean, let's be honest. Would Brennan Johnson get in if he went back to Forest now? He's getting nowhere near that team, is he? If he went back there.
He's not. But if I just cut across you for a minute, it's a good evening to Elena. She didn't get the notification. We're sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll make sure next week you do.
What we'll do is we'll do a pizza delivery to your house and tell you Grumpy Old Spurs is on. That's our promise, okay? But you did miss Dog of the Week. So when you get to the end of the show, go back to the beginning, and we do talk about the Dog of the Week. If you've got a dog, you'll like that.
We were up to 100 live viewers at that point, weren't we, Dave? We had 100.
We were up to 100,000 live viewers. Since Dog of the Week, it's gone back down to 18. Anyway, so
can I just
Johnson,
get your opinion on, just before we carry on with Johnson?
Yes.
Can I get your, so we've been talking in the groups this week, and I've sort of said, not like play all your best players and constantly play them, but I think now, I see a lot of people saying the league doesn't matter. Oh, the league doesn't matter. Don't matter what we do. Don't matter if we win or lose. But I think we've got a better chance of winning the Europa League games if we play as strong as team available at that time, and we build some momentum and some confidence, because it's quite obvious we don't have a lot of confidence. A goal goes in against us and it just goes tits. And it's like, I can't see how sort of like wrapping them in cotton wool, then expecting to turn it on like a light switch in the Europa League games. It's going to work. I think we've just got to play,
because if I'm a cynic
for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
alongside Romero, give Romero like 70.
Yeah,
and do you know what I mean? It's like, if he's fit, he's fit.
When they're back from the international break, we've got some easy away games. Liverpool, I think, Chelsea, West Ham, I think. We haven't gone there yet, have we? Right. So we've got tough away games, and we've got the Frankfurt tie when is it? April? I think
April,
so. Yeah. So really, his conflict of interest is that he's a dead man walking now, which we'll get onto in a minute.
Yeah.
But if he wins that trophy, he can turn around and go, I've won him a trophy, and he can walk away. Right?
Yes.
So he's got. So I mean, the reality is, our best. Look, we're not going to win that trophy. No way.
Not playing the way we are. We're not.
No, we are not going to win it, right? So if he uses the last 8 games of the season with the 2 cup games where he gets his first choice team for the Europa, some match minutes, particularly before the first leg and all the rest of it, then that's fine, right? What I just don't get is Odegaard had some momentum. I don't care about if he's in the French under 21s or other. I mean, Van der Ven is not going. He's not playing. He's ruled himself out playing for the Dutch. He's ruled himself out. Romero, he's ruled himself out. Right. So that's what it is. But it was a strange team that he picked. I mean, let's. We've got some quotes here. We've got some quotes. We're not doing the Andrew press. So obviously, very quickly on the first goal. I mean, Odegaard should have just. He was placed in a ridiculous position. You can take 3 men on in the second, like the attacking third of the pitch. Not there. He was put in a ridiculous position of having the ball there. He should have just booted it out. He's surrounded by 3 players, right? And, I definitely think that Silva targeted the right-hand side of our defence, knowing how weak it is. Yeah. And I thought that Vicario was down as slowly as Forster for that first goal, or am I being uncharitable?
No, it did seem to go in slow motion, didn't it? I think, like you said, because you're just waiting. But I think Odegaard he got the ball. Obviously, he's made a bad decision there, but he obviously just didn't want to hoof it, did he? It's not in how, I'm not saying we want a coach who tells him just to boot it or boot it out or whatever, but he's made a bad decision. But regardless of that, Dave, the ball's gone across the other side, the ball's come across and into the box. And literally, do you know what I mean? Players are miles off. Men, aren't they?
We've seen some bad defending over the years. We've seen Anthony Gardner, Gary Doherty, Chris Perry. Never caught. We've some bad defending going on at the moment. You've got to get the basics right. I don't care like Ange ball excitement and this, that, and the other. You got to have some pragmatism. You've got to have a balance, right?
We're not doing any of it.
And let's talk about that second goal. As night follows day, Ryan Sessegnon was going to score that goal. So, Gib, I think it's time for you to pay tribute to Ryan's Tottenham career. Off you go.
I thought it was a good signing when we signed him. But just, mate, when he was just crippled with injuries. He wasn't just a waste of time. And then whenever he came back, he just seemed brittle. I mean, he seemed just like slightly stronger than Brennan Johnson, didn't he? Just a slightly stronger version of Brennan Johnson. But it never really even began his Spurs career, did it? So went and had a few loans, scored a good goal at Bayern, didn't he? That's probably the highlight.
He got that header against Southampton, didn't he? The opening game of the season when he looked all bulked up. He looked bulked up and ready to go. I'm not going to be like our current manager at the moment. I'm not pretending to be Mr. Hindsight, mate.
Yeah.
Because when we signed him, I didn't want him. He had 1 season in the Premier League with Fulham where he didn't really do anything in a rubbish team. But Jack Grealish in his first season with Villa in the Premier League where he kept them up, shone like a beacon. But Sessegnon, he didn't do anything in that first time they were up in the Premier League, and I didn't want him. I just didn't rate him. And apparently we were in for his twin brother Stephen as well. I think he's at Charlton now, isn't he?
Yeah, he was just a player. He was a player that I thought the club had their eye on for a while. It wasn't a player we desperately needed.
No,
one of these that the club have had their eye on. Young talent.
Danny Rowe's successor that's who he was.
Yeah.
Danny, who I love very much, actually, was known for his opinions. Yes. And I think Sessegnon was the successor, and it didn't work out that way. I did like the fact that he respectfully decided not to celebrate. I mean, if I'd have been at the away end and he'd scored that goal, I would have been, typical that he scored. I wouldn't have been enraged that he'd scored against us, rubbing it in that he's left us for pastors new, because his Tottenham career was so meh. You know what I mean?
But how's he out? That is just defending of the worst order, wasn't it?
Well, Jed Spence.
Like what I've noticed about Jed Spence, like we keep saying about these players are playing for the manager.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him chasing back or working as hard as they can in those positions for him. And he just left that. It was just left down to Davis to deal with. And Davis dealt with it extremely poorly. Out muscle by Ryan Sessegnon. I mean, he must have got some serious grief in the change rooms.
And don't forget, it was Ryan Sessegnon on his right foot as well.
Yeah.
Scored. Okay.
Yeah.
So, listen, I mean, Spence, I think it was I would diplomatically call it a lapse in concentration. But if I have to look at the balance sheet, as I'm looking forward to reading the Tottenham accounts in a few weeks' time, the Jed Spence balance sheet, we'll put that in the not the loss side, but on the profit side, there's a lot to outweigh him. So he's made a mistake. We'll call it out. We'll call these things out on Grumpy Old Spurs. Jed made a mistake. I hope he learns from it. He did leave Davis in a bit of a bad position there.
Yeah.
But Davis did get out-muscled by Ryan Sessegnon, which is a bit like being out-muscled by Brennan Johnson.
It was just pretty weak defending, wasn't it? And I think, like you said, like with there's so much more that outweighs Jed Spence, but he was sort of that goal Tavernier scored the other week, the Kirkes cross.
Yeah.
They got the run on him, didn't they?
Yeah.
And obviously that's not his strength, is it? I don't think
defending crosses and set pieces, you mean?
Well, being like really switched on to the defensive side of it. Obviously he's far better going forward, but he has been,
been really
good for us.
I understand that, but I look, I mean, he hasn't got much.
I think he's better at left back for us.
Yeah, but I don't think he's got much competition on that front. But I do think defensively he's the best fullback we got. He hasn't got much competition. I get that.
No.
But
yeah.
I think on the whole he's been genuinely solid defensively. Yeah. But there have been
he's not a problem.
No, he's not a problem. So look, so that was another loss. So a few quotes here. We're not doing the old Ange quote this week, but he gone.
Can we once again mention, like we brought Bergvall on, young lad. Actually, why did we need to rest him? He's like, I'd say, maybe not even arguably, our best and most influential midfielder at the minute.
Correct.
Why do we need to rest him?
Because he's going off to the Swedish squad. That's why.
Yeah, but he probably won't play for Sweden. I don't think he's first. I don't think he gets in their first 11. But
he should do.
But he's playing well, Dave, at the minute, and he doesn't look to me like a player that. When I look at some players, like I look at Porro, you think that guy needs a bit of a break. You look at Son, and you think, he needs to be, But there's certain ones like Odegaard didn't. Spence obviously doesn't, but he was rested the other week.
Well, I think
Bergvall doesn't look like a player.
Johnson needed a rest, and he did in the first half. He had a good rest.
He had a lovely rest.
I was surprised he didn't have a Booker deck chair on the right-hand side of the attack because he was being as much effect as there possible. But no, I totally agree. Bergvall's our best player at the moment.
Yeah.
He's the best player at the moment. Yeah.
Just doesn't look like he needs a rest.
No, not really. And he's got to go off. He can be tired for the Swedes, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to sound like GB TV here, but be tired for the Swedes.
Yeah,
we're the one. I'm not. We're the ones who need.
We're paying your wages.
Yeah, we're paying your wages. You come over here, you Swedes, with your IKEA and your meat. Sorry, anyway.
And your lovely blonde hair. Yeah.
Yes, your lovely blonde hair. Has he started shaving yet? Do you think? It doesn't look like it. But then maybe it's a sign I'm getting old. Anyway,
more importantly, has he started shaving it?
Has Bergvall started shaving? We've done Dog of the Week, and has Bergvall started shaving? As I said,
good evening, Holly.
Hello, Holly. So anyway, a couple of things from Ange. He has come out and said, and this is why he's paid the big bucks. We've lost too many games.
No,
and also he was not. So Timo Werner was hung out to dry after the Glasgow Rangers game, which apparently was an implied motivation to the other senior players. Now, that's the Aussie way. We're Machiavellian. Yeah. But this time he's saying that Biss lets the game drift by. He needs to be more dominant. So I think he's been taken off half-time for the last 3 games running, isn't it? He's played. Yeah. Is that right?
Didn't he say he needed game time or something as well, mate? Just another load of old cobblers from this bloke. But yeah, he has been poor. So why pick him? Why pick him? And if you're not trying to I'm not saying we try to throw the game, So why pick him?
Because we got Bentancur, Bergvall, Maddison, Sarr. Who else is there? Gray.
It's not Sarr, another one. Doesn't look like a bloke to me that needed a rest.
Well, at the end of the day, right, we are just a coma of a club, right? That's what we are.
Yeah.
And, no one needed a rest, and except for Johnson, who had a rest in the first half. And I think Johnson looked better for it in the second half after he had his rest, don't you reckon?
Well, sat on the bench. He looked $1 million sat on the bench. He looked extremely refreshed.
He had one of those mobile sunbeds by the side of the pit, and he was getting his hair done, reading the Heat magazine. He was looking good, and he's got no international breaks. So him and Maddison were like swapping notes. Should we go to darts in Dubai? There's Luke Littler on in Dubai. Let's go and do that.
Surely he's been called up for Wales. I mean, he isn't that bad. He must have been called up for Wales.
He must have been. Who they got?
Yeah.
Who's Wales? Let's cover off Wales in the international break.
No, let's not. We don't want to lose people. Come on.
Okay. So anyway, a few other things just to finish off. Did you see the Ange fan altercation?
I did. Obviously, you never know if it was if they got the start. But obviously, before that came out, it was Tal, wasn't it, going over and talking to a bunch of kids, saying we all need to be together. Then, obviously, later on, the Ange one came out. He reacted to a fan asking him what was that. But
with some expletives in the sentence, yes.
Yeah.
Well, can we just quickly on Tell for a second, right?
Yeah.
I thought he did all right, actually.
Yeah.
He showed glimpses, and his best position is clearly on the flank, cutting in. He's not a striker.
No.
He's a kid. He's still a kid. He's been persuaded by Ange to come and play for this clusterfuck of a club. Sorry for swearing, everyone. And he's come over. He's been played out of position in a team that is really, really struggling, right?
Yeah.
He's in a new country and all the rest of it. And he didn't want to come in the first place. So he's over here. He's been played out of position in some big games. He's tried to get the crowd going, Villa away and stuff like that, and Liverpool away. He's looked at the fact that he goes, I mean, I think he's probably used to him with Bayern and the ultras and this, that, and the other, that you go and clap the away fans and you take whatever they give you, right?
Yeah.
And what I just find shocking is that a kid like that goes up and talks to the fans and the leadership group. I know the setup there is you have to, the tunnel is by the corner of the away end. You have to walk past the away end to get to the tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's that. Unfortunately for our leadership group, they have to face their paying customers on the way back to the dressing room. Johnny, who's big on YouTube, stuff like that, he did a clip saying that the substitutes doing the warm-up before the game, laughing, not a lot of intensity. Now, I get that, we'll get on to what we're going to play for in the league, but I think with Tell, you know what? I like that about someone showing it's leadership quality.
Character,
which, frankly, our leadership group sorely lacks.
Well, it's leadership group by name only, Dave, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is leadership group by name only. When I look at a player, I sort of look how they receive the ball, how they, their first touch, their movement, and I see something in Tal. Now, has he been excellent? He, like you said, it's been a struggle for him, but I've seen bits and pieces of him that make me think, not to go off the end saying we cannot sign this bloke, he's rubbish. I think if you're looking at 40, 45 million, it is a lot of money, but I look at him and I see a little bit more about him than other players that are at Spurs.
Exactly. So I respect that. Now, Ange's altercation with the fans, should we just park that a little minute? Because we are gonna have to deal with the old Ange in and out. We are contractually obliged
the Ange-okey-kokey.
We've got to do the Ange-okey-kokey. We are contractually obliged to do that. We have to do that.
Yeah.
So before we do that, let's have a look at our league position at the moment. Here we are. Now, I've done a new thing graphic-wise this week. I've discovered how you can square a part of the table that you want to see.
Well done, Dave.
That's my new this is my new PowerPoint skill. So I've snipped the table, copied and pasted it into the slide. I didn't manage to fit in second and first place, but we're not bothered about that, are we? And
we're not bothered about that.
That's well over the horizon. And then what I've done is put a square table in to show that. What do you think? That's good.
It's good. It just shows that you can really see that little cluster of top
mediocrity.
teams. The cluster of mediocrity. That's what we're in there, isn't it?
So there we are, Gibbo. We're in 14th place. Now, I did tee this up at the start of the show, Gibbo, and I know you're excited, but we do have something to play for in the Premier League. And this is what it is, Gibbo. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Relaxed?
Come on. Yeah.
We have got to play for not being the worst placed London club in the Premier League. Okay, it's tight. West Ham are on 34, as you can see in that block that I've specially prepared. We are on 34.
All to play for then.
It's all to play for. We've got to go there in a couple of weeks' time. It's the worst in London El Clasico, Gibbo.
El Crapico.
El Crapico
it is. And hey, mate, our goal difference is going to be like an extra point to us, isn't it?
I think so.
They say when you're going to win the league, having that goal difference like an extra point. But in the cluster of mediocrity, to not be the worst London team, that goal difference could just be that extra. Could be just like that extra point for us.
I think so, Gibbo. And so I think Ange will eschew his normal attacking flair. He's going to go to the London Stadium, as funded by the UK taxpayer, and he will park the bus like Santini did at Chelsea, which is how Jose first coined the term "park the bus." Gibbo, did you know that?
Yeah, I can remember watching it, Dave. This is what I'm looking forward to on Twitter. If we lose our next few games, and say if we go out of the Europa League, the fans of Ange will say, but we've still got to be above, like Dave said on Grumpy Old Spurs, we've still got that to play for. He's not the worst team in London.
No, we are not yet the worst team in London. That's what we've got to play for. And so, Gibbo, before we get on to the Ange Ogika goal, one last question for you and the 20 wonderful people who are watching at home. What season was the last time we finished the worst placed London team in the Premier League? And this time, I'm not giving you a clue, Gibbo. So anyone at home, don't Google it. I know that you're watching us on your dinner table. We're propped up against a salt cellar. You're telling your kids off for looking at their screens whilst you're looking at the screen.
What was the year that
the season we were the worst placed team, worst placed London team? Does anyone know?
The season that Aussie RD, when we won at Oldham to stay up. I can't remember who went down.
Right, you're going with that, are you?
I can't remember the season though. Was it 93, 94?
Our good friend Phil, who had said earlier that he's got nothing better to do than watch us, he's going 93, 94.
Is that the season I'm?
And that's the season that you're.
Yeah, we got Klinsmann in the next season, didn't we?
You're going 93. Phil's the only one who's guessed. I think everyone's given up hope by this stage in terms of the interactiveness of the show, and I understand that. I understand that. We have depressed everyone. So would you like me to reveal that?
Yes,
I will reveal that answer, because what's the point of not revealing that? And here we go. Special memories. There he is. Who's that with his scarf above his head?
Oh, above his head. Postiga?
Yes. Who's that with his head on the ground?
Glenn.
I think that might have been his last game. And I think, who was that against?
City. That wasn't the FA Cup game, was it?
No. We'll get onto that in a minute. But the Hoddle game, I think that was at his last game in charge. I think, who was that against?
I thought he lost to like Borough or Fulham or somebody like that.
I think it was Fulham.
Yeah.
I was at a wedding.
Home, wasn't it?
I was at a wedding and he lost. Not my wedding, someone else's wedding.
I think, was that the season we lost 3-0 to Borough at home, and that bold kid who played for the Italy under-21s, he scored a couple for them.
Yes, indeed. So I think that was Fulham. I think Fulham was Hoddle's last game. Santini was Hoddle's last game. And of course, we had David, I discovered Dele Alli, don't you know? Pleat was in temporary charge. And one of the biggest troughs, one of the nadirs, if that's the right word, of the Noughties, was when we lost 3-4 to City, a 10-man City.
Were
you at that? You were there, were you?
Yeah. I went to the away game first of all, 1-1.
Michael Brown's debut, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think the Doc scored.
The Doc.
And then I was at it was pretty unbelievable, that game, John. But you could see it coming. If you were there in the stadium, you could see it coming. It was typical Spurs, mate. So we missed some great chances to literally finish the game off, which it should have been anyway. But yeah.
So when people say this is as worse as the 90s, I go, no, it's the Noughties that was shocking. All right, shocking. There we go. Exactly. So is it now? It's now time. The Ange Undertakers are here. The death of Ange Ball. Here we go.
People on this channel know me, Dave. They know my take on it. Let's have
Holly. Holly says, I don't know what to think anymore. Keep him till we go out, then get him gone. I don't want Mason as interim, Caps.
Yeah, well, that's serious then if it's all capitals, isn't it?
And here's Jeffrey Archer. I don't know if he's still alive or not. If we get rid of Ange, we may have a better chance in the QF Europa and onwards in the league. Even having no manager might be better than this clown.
I agree on the fact that that someone else might come in and we'd have more chance of.
What about Sabi? Why don't we get Sabi in until the end of the season?
Give Sabi a go. No, that's where I'm at the minute, mate. Give Sabi a go.
We are the only club in the world who has the name Hotspur. We are a team, a club of first. We could be the first club to have a cockapoo as our first team coach. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, let's go for it. I don't think he could do any worse, or she. But right, Dave, your thoughts at the minute then. Obviously, you said dead man walking. Will Ange Postecoglou be Tottenham Hotspur, or should he be, in your opinion, Tottenham Hotspur manager at the start of next season?
No. He will not be the Tottenham manager. I don't think he will be. I think that the plate tectonics have shifted for our glorious chairman, because I've talked in the last few weeks about the fact that Ange has got Levy as the shield. Yeah. And in the last week or so, and really since Alkmaar first leg, the talk, it's ramped up about Ange now. It's ramped up, right? He's going through his Sheffield United, and we're nearly at the AC Milan, Conte-esque point of this. You know, when I've said all along, my conflict is I've been really, really happy that the country that I've made my home and the club that I love from childhood has been the first one to appoint an Aussie coach. And I will say this again. I think there has been a truckload of inverted snobism by the fan base and the media when we appointed him. I think that has kind of been telling in his previous comments in recent days and this, that, and the other. You know, he's been patronised. The Fonz, Robbie Williams, all this guff, right? And so at the end of the day, he came into a club that had a toxic atmosphere at the end of Conte, Stellini, Mason. The first 10 games last year, and as I said, it was all my fault because I walked into that stadium when we were 2-0 up VAR review against Chelsea, and it frankly went absolutely tits up ever since then. So that's my fault. Sorry. But as I say, and I keep making the point, he's operated in markets that he could get the best players playing in his team, playing in his way, and he hasn't had that. I think that he will go. I think that, I didn't want to change him in the summer. I had no appetite for that. He's been given a go of 2 seasons. I think that the injuries thing, some of it has been perfectly avoidable if he'd have rotated his players. I think his rotation between Europa group stages and the league has been poor. But even when we've had a full strength team, we've not done well. We've had bad losses. I mean, Leicester haven't scored a goal since they've beaten us. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just,
Dave, other managers such as before, other teams have worked out how to counteract his type of football, and he hasn't changed.
So look, our form when we got to the Champions League final was appalling in the league, because we were burnt out from the World Cup and not buying anyone. Our form in the league is appalling, but we don't have a Harry Kane, although Kane got injured first leg of the quarters.
Yeah.
We don't have a peak Sonny. We don't have a slightly off peak at the time, frankly, Ericsson. We don't have Toby and Jan at the back, and we don't have a Hugo either. And there were some leaders in that team.
Yeah,
leaders.
Vertonghen, Alderweireld,
Who I
Walker,
just,
Rose.
Walker wasn't there for the Champions League.
Well,
But anyway, it doesn't matter. No, it wasn't their Champions League. He's gone. We'd sold him. We decided to replace him with the genius that is Serge Aurier. So he will be gone. He won't be there at the start of next season. And we've got an international break next week where I think we will do a deeper dive into who we should get in as a manager, right? But it is still my contention that it makes no difference whatsoever who sat on that bench, given the ownership, and you know my views on that. But I think, as you have always argued, that you get a Frank in there, you get the geezer at Bournemouth, you get Silva, they would do a better job with what they have available and within the ownership structure of this club. And and I think you're probably right. But you know, I think what would happen is when he gets, we lose to Frankfurt, which is I think is going to happen, then Levy's obviously got a choice of toxic stadium for about 3 or 4 home games after that, or 2 home games after that, or just sit it out. Levy doesn't turn up. He's on business in America again, and doesn't turn up for the last few games of the season, and just goes at the end of the season. And then we have a summer. We've got another big summer ahead of us.
Yeah,
for the project.
always. Well, projects, a load of old nonsense in it, mate. I've said this before. People keep thinking it's a project because we're buying young players. But what you should be doing, Dave, is we should be buying young players. We should be buying young players so there's continuity coming through with players who were in the team at the minute. So that's what. So it's like we've all been hoodwinked by project. We're just doing what we should be doing.
Well, I've never
good youngsters into the team.
I've never been hoodwinked. I know what they're about.
Lots of people,
I know, but I know what they're about, right?
The project and the rebuild. It's
all that nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. You need a decent spine of experience, ready to go players. You need proper leaders. Even I'd be happy to take one old wise head on a 1-year contract, not a Jamie Redknapp, for example, who can guide them in the dressing room. I need a bastard as a captain, as a number 6, and then I need a striker up top and some fullback cover. And, you know, people like Destiny need proper competition for their place, right? Yeah. So he won't be there to start next season. I've got no doubt about it. I mean, if he won the Europa Cup, which I don't think will happen.
He still shouldn't be there.
He still shouldn't be there, but you could get a Ten Hag situation.
Well, that's my worry, Dave. I think that would likely happen because everything just reverts to type with him. It's just the same things happen all the time. But like when I look at Silva, people are already probably turning their nose up at Silva. But he's getting a tune out of Iwobi, Jimenez, Traore. If we'd have signed Sanderberg, people would have moaned like hell about him. He's got him in there. He's got a tune out of him. He's making that Calvin Bassey. He's improved him as a player.
Robinson.
You know, Robinson. But he makes... I've always said that at Spurs, you need to make a silk purse out of a pig's ear.
You do.
You've got to which is... I know you wouldn't have Pochettino back, but that's what he did initially. He made the team better than the sum of their parts. That's what you've got to do at Spurs. And Ange can't do that. He has to have, like I said a while ago, and I'm talking last season, for Ange ball to work, you are going to need the best players in every position, pretty much the best team. But so I just look at the likes. I just use him. I quite like Silva. I think he's got a bit of spirit about him as well. And I just think he works with the players he's got. He improves them, and he makes the team good. I think he's a decent coach.
Do you want Areola? Yeah, I mean, we could do a deeper dive on this.
We'll do a deeper dive.
We'll do a deeper dive next week because I'm kind of looking at I think we got a couple of weeks off of our team playing in the league, which to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to. We might do a little bit of nostalgia in the next couple of weeks.
Definitely,
we might do a little bit of nostalgia. We'll look at the managers. But before we finish off, I do want to go back to the P word. There's been a lot.
Sorry, Dave, before you do the P word, Iriola just my take on it. He's obviously the new thing. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he isn't the guy. You give him. I'm not convinced. I think I'm more on the somebody like Silva than him at the minute, and I might be totally wrong. I mean, obviously, if he gets the job, I think if he got offered the job, he'd take it. Some people say he wouldn't, but I think he would. But
that's right, Phil. We're going to do a live reading of Spurs 90 books. I will do my Alan Sugar as Zippy from Rainbow impression just for you next week. Okay. I'm not convinced. I'm with you. Actually, I'm agreeing with you about Areola. I think, some people say, I mean, we were bloody lucky to get 2-2, but should he have managed the game a bit better to get away from the stadium with a win? We losing a 2-goal lead. He hasn't had any European football to juggle a squad around. Everyone talks about his injuries, and I agree with you. Fine, he's had limited resources.
He managed that situation better than that.
He's managed that. People say he's managed that situation better, but he's played a lot. He hasn't played Europa group stages.
No, but I still think he did. He did manage it better than him.
Well, I'm not sure I quite agree, but I mean, he's managed it better, but he had less games to manage. So I don't think that's a fair benchmark. I would look at, if you had a choice, my view is at the moment, I think he's a bit unproven. I got quite excited. I was listening to I was doing a Spaces the other day on Twitter, and there's a guy on there called Johnson. He knows his stuff, very knowledgeable. He's very excited about the Dortmund or Leverkusen manager who's out of a job.
Terzic.
Yeah, he was very excited about him. He says he's got a track record of improving young players. Yeah. Training methods are really good. He fell out with Hummels or something, and then Hummels went to the board, and that was the end of him. But he got them to a Champions League final. He got them challenging in the Bundesliga, where you're up against Bayern, and he's got a bit more experience. So I got a bit sold on that. I was a bit doubtful about it before, but if you brought him in, I think I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with Thomas Frank. I wouldn't have a problem with Silva. I'm not sure about Areola, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't have a problem with it, Dave. Like, the jury would be out on him. Wouldn't have a problem with it. But...
Yeah, but okay. But the other thing is, and we're back on it again on Twitter. All the Poch frothers putting on the bring him home and here, and he had a cup of tea in Hadley Wood with Levy 4 years ago, and this, that, and the other. But I don't want Poch back. Okay.
Yep.
Today, I mean, and then because what will happen is we'll go bring him home, Poch comes back, and then we'll have Ericsson coming back, Gareth Bale 3, Benjamin Stamboli, the lot. It just never works. I know that you've got examples where it does work, but, the day is gone. Move on from Poch. Kane might come back. There's a release clause in the summer. I think he's got a release clause, this part of his contract. He won't come back to us anyway. No way on earth. But wouldn't want him back anyway.
Well, you say that, Dave. I agree with you on the move on thing, but I'm at the point where undoubtedly he is a better coach than Ange. And if that is the trade, he is. Don't even try and say he's not, mate. Just don't even try and say he's not. It's chalk and cheese. He's much better coach. And if that's the trade-off, mate, you got to take it, because you cannot sit there and say, I know you don't want him for what reasons, but if you're just basing it on who is the better coach and who will improve that team more, there is only one winner. There is only one winner.
All right,
and it's not big Ange Postecoglou, mate.
Kerry's urging patience from you, Gibbo. This is a rebuild. We've got to stick with it. Okay.
I just don't believe the rebuild. I don't know what we're rebuilding. I've said it before.
Kerry says you're too impatient. You're like the TikTok generation, Gibbo.
Too impatient, Dave. I've been supporting this lot since '87. I don't think I'm impatient.
And this is waxing miracles dream. Poch, after he takes the United States to a World Cup semi-final where they go out on penalties. Because he's played some American player who hasn't been fit for 3 years. He's saying, Poch, that's what it is. So there we go. I think we're pretty much done, aren't we?
Yeah, but I think, like you said, I think we'll do our homework. We'll do our research into the potential managers, Dave, and we'll do a show next week, and we'll really get stuck into it. We'll get the graphs out, we'll get results and formations and all that type of thing. Do a real deep dive into 3 or 4 managers as we do with some of these things.
I might even learn a new PowerPoint skill by this time next week. You never know.
I mean, I might be able to do that one on your phone where you just circle it with your finger, and then you get a big wiggly line.
Do you know how to do it? Can you do a screenshot of that? Do you know how to take a photo of the screen on your phone? Your kids, you know how to do that.
Screenshot, I can do a screenshot.
Okay. Put it in the group, and then we'll put it on the. And we've been asked for a flip chart.
We'll try our best.
I'll put a flip chart at the back here in the living room, and
And what we'll do is for every manager, when we talk about them, I think you should do a slide with a picture of them, and we'll bring it up whilst we're talking about them. Look all professional.
I never thought of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, stuff like that. So this will be worth. Tell people this is going to be. It's going to be worth watching, isn't it, Dave? This one. Who's next?
Because we've both got our FIFA coaching badges, so we can use that skill set there. Yeah,
and we play on Football Manager.
Yes,
don't we?
Yes,
we might even make a new picture to advertise the show.
What picture's that going to be?
I don't know. We'll think about it. Just something to get the masses sort of like enthused.
Mate, are you doing fantasy football this season?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what we might do to show our credentials, we might put our teams up at the start to show people our credentials about how well we're doing in fantasy league to establish our credentials.
Well, this is my first proper year though, Dave. So
right, well, okay. Well, let's screenshot your team and how it's doing, and I'll put mine up, and then we'll establish our credentials. We'll then do dog of the week,
obviously,
and then we'll hit the managers. Okay.
There might not be a dog of the week because we haven't got a home game, so we're going to pick our own dog of the week.
Are you saying we go around our local neighbourhood, stick a Spurs outfit on a dog, and then take a picture of it and then get chased down the street by its owner? Okay, we'll do that.
Something like that.
Okay, fine. Should we go now?
But more importantly, look, thank you everybody for watching. We've had a steady 20 people watching, I think, Dave. It's very steady.
Yes. We might need to expand that porter cabin in Bilbao.
So obviously we're going to attempt to end the show as best we can, as professionally as we can today. But obviously, everyone, thanks for watching, and see you soon.